Commander Tyke stood at the main window of Earth's Defense Command Center. His eyes were fixed on the large screen showing a fleet of strange ships approaching the outer edge of the solar system. The ships did not look like anything humans had built. They were smooth and curved with glowing blue lights. "How long until they reach Mars?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear he felt inside. Lieutenant Sue checked her computer screen. 3 days, sir. Maybe 4 if they slow down. Tyke nodded. He had been preparing for this day his whole career, but he never truly believed it would come. Aliens were real, and they were heading straight for Earth. Send the message to all defense. Bases, code red. This is not a drill. The command center burst into activity. Alarms sounded throughout the building. On screens across the room, military bases around the world began to report in. Earth was preparing for war. Dr. Hanna didn't look up from her microscope when the alarm started. As Earth's top expert on possible alien life, she had been studying the strange signals from space for months. Now in her lab deep under the Pacific Ocean, she was looking at something even more interesting. A tiny piece of metal from a probe that had been sent to meet the alien ships. "Look at this structure," she said to her assistant. "It's made of elements we know but arranged in ways we've never seen before." The assistant looked nervous. "Dr. Hanna, didn't you hear the alarm? We're under attack." Hanna finally looked up. "Not yet, we're not. But we will be soon if I can't figure out how their technology works." She went back to her microscope. "Get me all the data from the deep space telescopes. I need to know everything about these aliens." Captain June ran his hand along the smooth control panel of his ship, the Defiance. It was Earth's newest and most advanced warship, but compared to what was coming, it might as well have been made of wood. "All systems check out, Captain," his pilot said. "We're ready to launch when you give the word." June looked around at his crew. They were young, the best Earth had to offer. They had trained for space combat, but none of them had ever fought a real battle. Now they would be the first humans to fight an alien enemy. "Our job is simple," he told them. "We protect Earth at all costs. The aliens may have better ships and weapons, but we have something they don't know about. We know how to fight. Humans have been fighting wars since we could pick up sticks. It's in our blood." The crew nodded, drawing strength from his words. June hoped he sounded more confident than he felt. General Day stared at the message on the screen one more time. It had been sent from the alien fleet and translated by Earth's best computers. "To the species of the third planet, we are the Arcari Confederation. We have claimed your solar system as our territory. Submit to our rule and you will live as our servants. Resist, and you will be eliminated. You have 1 Earth day to respond." Around the table, the United Earth Defense Council sat in silence. 12 men and women from different countries, all chosen to make the hardest decision in human history. "We can't fight them," said one council member. "You've seen the scans of their ships. Their technology is far beyond ours. If we surrender, we may never be free again," said another. "Is survival worth slavery?" General Day stood up. "I have studied every war in human history. Do you know what I learned? The side with the better technology doesn't always win. The side that is willing to sacrifice more, to think differently, to adapt faster, that's the side that wins." He looked around the table. "The Arcari think they know what we are. They think we are weak and afraid. They don't understand that humans have been fighting and killing each other for thousands of years. We are the most dangerous species we know." He pressed a button, and a new message appeared on the screen. "To the Arcari Confederation. Earth belongs to humans. We will not surrender. If you want our world, you will have to take it from us." One by one, the council members voted. The message was approved. Humanity would fight. The Arcari ship was unlike anything humans had ever built. Ambassador Vexillar stood in the command center, surrounded by displays showing Earth from various angles. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but Vexillar knew better. Their response is unexpected, he said to his commander. "They are refusing to surrender." Commander Zolrak made a sound of amusement. "They cannot possibly think they can defeat us. We have conquered 32 solar systems. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs." "Perhaps," said Vexillar, "but I have been studying them. Humans are strange. They spend much of their history fighting each other. They know war in ways we do not. War is mathematics, said Zolrak dismissively. Numbers of ships, power of weapons, resources available. By every calculation we will win easily. Vexlar was not convinced. The humans do not fight by calculation. They fight with, what is their word, emotion. They will sacrifice much to protect their home. Then they will sacrifice in vain, said Zolrak. Prepare the first attack force. Target their outer colony on Mars. Show them the price of defiance. As Vexlar left to carry out his orders, he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The Arcari had never lost a war, but they had never fought humans before. Back on Earth, Commander, Tyke received the news that the alien fleet was moving toward Mars. They're coming faster than we expected, said Lieutenant Sue. Our colony on Mars has less than a day to prepare. Tyke's face was grim. Tell them to evacuate who they can, but the defense stations stay active. Mars is where we make our first stand. Just then, Dr. Hana rushed into the command center, her lab coat still on. Commander, I've found something. The metal in their ships. It reacts strangely to certain radio frequencies. If we can find the right frequency, we might be able to disrupt their systems. For the first time that day, Tyke felt a spark of hope. Get that information to Captain June on the Defiance. His ship has the best chance of testing your theory. As Hana left, Tyke turned back to the main screen. The alien ships were beautiful in a strange way, gliding through space with unnatural grace. Soon that grace would be tested by human determination. The first battle for Earth's survival was about to begin. Humans had never fought an alien enemy before, but they had been practicing for this moment their entire history. Every war between humans had been preparation for this war. The Arcari thought they were bringing war to humans. They didn't understand that humans were born from war, shaped by it, experts in its brutal art. They were about to learn. The red dust of Mars swirled in the thin air as the last evacuation ships took off. Only a skeleton crew remained at the defense station, volunteers who knew they might not return to Earth. Their commander, a tough woman named Jin, watched the deep radar screen as the Arcari ships drew closer. All defense systems ready, she reported to Earth Command. We will hold as long as we can. Thousands of miles away, Captain June and the crew of the Defiance hid behind one of Mars's small moons, Phobos. The ship's engines were off to avoid detection. The plan was simple but dangerous. Let the Arcari attack the Mars station, then surprise them from behind. Everyone remembered Dr. Hana's findings, June reminded his crew. Their ships might be stronger, but if we can broadcast the right radio frequency, we might disrupt their systems. Even for a few seconds, that could give us an advantage. The crew nodded silently. Through the ship's windows, they could see Mars growing smaller as the Arcari fleet approached. 20 large ships, each one bigger than anything humans had built, for space. They're confident, said June's first officer. Look how they're not even in a defensive formation. June nodded. They think this will be easy. That's our advantage. Commander Tyke watched the screens from Earth as the Arcari fleet surrounded the Mars station. His hands were tight fists at his sides. He wanted to be there, fighting alongside his people, but his place was here, directing the larger battle. Send the signal to Captain June, he ordered. Operation Surprise begins now. On the Arcari command ship, Ambassador Vexlar felt uneasy. As they approached the human outpost on Mars, it seemed too easy. The outpost's defenses were minimal and most of the humans had evacuated. Commander, I suggest caution, he said to Zolrak. The humans may have set a trap. Zolrak made a dismissive gesture. What trap could their primitive technology set for us? Our scans show nothing but a basic defense station and a few remaining humans. This will be a simple demonstration of our power. He pressed a button on his control panel. Begin the attack. Destroy their station completely. Let Earth see what happens to those who defy the Arcari. The Arcari ships fired their weapons. Bright blue beams of energy shot toward the Mars station. The first shots hit the outer defenses, creating explosions that could be seen from space. But then something unexpected happened. The Mars station fired back. Not with the weak weapons the Arcari expected, but with missiles that moved in strange, unpredictable patterns. 3 of them hit an Arcari ship before its defenses could respond. "Impossible," said Zolrak, staring at the damage report. "Their weapons should not be able to penetrate our shields." Vexillar studied the data quickly. The missiles changed course multiple times. Our defense systems are programmed to track predictable trajectories. These missiles, they moved as if controlled by humans, not computers. Before Zolrak could respond, alarms sounded throughout the ship. "We're being attacked from behind," shouted the sensor officer. On the main screen, a single human ship appeared from behind the small moon. It was tiny compared to the Arcari vessels, but it moved with incredible speed, firing weapons as it came. "Activate all defenses," ordered Zolrak. "Destroy that ship." But the human ship was not flying in a straight line or following any pattern the Arcari computers could predict. It zigzagged through space, sometimes flying so close to the Arcari ships that their weapons couldn't target it effectively. "What are they doing?" asked Zolrak, his voice rising in frustration. "No pilot would fly like that. It's suicidal." Inside the Defiance, Captain June's hands flew over the controls as he piloted the ship personally. Sweat ran down his face as he pulled, maneuvers that pushed the ship to its limits. Behind him, his crew worked frantically to maintain the systems and fire weapons whenever they had a clear shot. "Now," June shouted as they passed close to an Arcari ship. "Activate Dr. Hana's frequency." The communications officer pressed a series of buttons. The Defiance began broadcasting a specific radio frequency directly at the Arcari ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the lights on the alien vessel flickered. "It's working," shouted the first officer. "Their shields are down." "Fire everything we have," ordered June. The Defiance unleashed all its weapons at once. Missiles, lasers, and projectiles slammed into the Arcari ship where its shields should have been. Explosions bloomed across its surface. "Pull away now." June yanked the controls and the Defiance shot upward just as the Arcari ship exploded. Behind them, on the command channel, they could hear cheering from the Mars station. Commander Jin's voice came through. "That's one down. Keep going, Defiance." Back on Earth, Commander Tyke watched in amazement as the small human ship destroyed an Arcari vessel 3 times its size. "It worked," he said quietly. Dr. Hana's discovery worked. Dr. Hana stood beside him, her eyes wide. "They're vulnerable to that specific frequency. It temporarily disrupts their shield technology, but they'll adapt quickly. We need more strategies." Tyke nodded. "Contact Engineer Minji. Tell her to start retrofitting every ship we have with the broadcast capability, and I want a new plan, ready when the Arcari regroup." In her workshop on Earth, Engineer Minji received the message from Command. She immediately gathered her team of engineers and technicians. "Listen up," she said, bringing up diagrams on the large screen. "We need to convert every space-worthy vessel into a fighting ship. Cargo ships, research vessels, even private spacecraft. Anything that can fly needs to be able to fight." One of her engineers looked doubtful. "But most of those ships have no weapons or defenses," Minji smiled. "Then we'll have to get creative. The Arcari expect us to fight like them, with proper warships and predictable tactics. We won't do that. We'll turn everything we have into a weapon they don't expect." On the Arcari command ship, Commander Zolrak was furious. They had lost 3 ships to the humans' surprise attack, and the rest of the fleet had been forced to retreat to a safe distance. "How did this happen?" he demanded. "They are primitives." Ambassador Vexillar reviewed the battle data carefully. They did not fight according to any known military doctrine. Their ships moved in ways that made no logical sense, and they somehow disrupted our shield technology temporarily. He looked up at his commander. "I warned you. Humans do not fight by calculation. They take risks that no rational species would consider. And sometimes those risks succeed." Zolrak's expression darkened. "This changes nothing. We will adapt our strategies. The next attack will not fail." He turned to his officers. "Send a message to the High Command. Request reinforcements." As the message was sent, Vexillar studied the images of the human ships. There was something fascinating about a species that would fly directly at a superior enemy with no apparent fear. Perhaps the humans would be more interesting than he had first thought. The first battle was over. The Arcari had lost ships for the first time in their long history of conquest, and humanity had proven that even against superior technology, they would not be defeated easily. The war had truly begun. Dr. Hana hadn't slept in 3 days. Her lab was filled with screens showing data about the Arcari. Some came from scans of their ships, others from pieces of debris collected after the battle at Mars. She stared at the biological readings with growing excitement. "I think I understand them now," she said to her team. "Look at their home planets." On the main screen, she showed images of 7 different worlds. Each one was the home of a different species within the Arcari Confederation. "What do they all have in common?" she asked. One of her assistants studied the images. "They all look peaceful. No large predators, stable climates, abundant resources." "Exactly," said Hana. "These species evolved in environments with limited competition. They never had to fight for survival the way humans did on Earth." She pointed to another screen showing Earth's history. "Humans evolved in a world full of dangers. We competed with predators and each other. We survived ice ages and natural disasters." She switched to a diagram of Arcari brain scans. Their brains developed differently than ours. They think logically and efficiently, but they don't understand chaos or unpredictability because they never needed those skills to survive. She picked up her phone. "I need to speak to Commander Tyke immediately. I know how we can defeat them." Captain June and a small team of 6 soldiers floated silently in space near Jupiter. They wore special suits that masked their life signs from Arcari sensors. Ahead of them floated a damaged Arcari scout ship, its engines disabled by the Defiance before it retreated. "Remember," June said through the comm system, "we don't want to destroy the ship. We want to plant the false information and get out unseen." The team moved toward the ship, using small thrusters on their suits to guide them. A broken section of the hull provided a way in. Inside, 3 Arcari crew members were repairing systems. They looked up in shock as the humans entered. Before they could react, June's team fired stun weapons. The Arcari fell unconscious without a sound. "We have 15 minutes before they're missed," said June. "Get to the computer core." One soldier, a computer expert named Quan, plugged a device into the Arcari computer system. "This will feed false data into their tactical network," he explained. "According to this, humans are preparing to surrender. They'll think we're gathering our fleet near Jupiter's moons to formally give up. But really, we're setting a trap," said June with a grim smile. Quan nodded. "Commander Tyke is already moving our forces into position. When the Arcari come to accept our surrender, they'll find something very different waiting for them." 5 minutes left," warned another soldier. "We need to move." June took one last look around the alien ship. "Let's go. The real battle is just beginning." In her workshop on Earth, engineer Minji supervised as hundreds of civilian ships were fitted with new technology. Cargo haulers, research vessels, even tourist shuttles were being transformed into weapons of war. "The Arcari expect us to fight with proper military ships," she explained to General Day, who had come to see her progress. "But we don't have enough of those, so we're changing the rules." She showed him a small cargo ship that had been modified. "We stripped out everything non-essential to make it faster, added shield disruptors based on Dr. Hana's discovery. And, look at this." She pointed to large containers attached to the ship. "These look like normal cargo pods, but they're actually filled with thousands of small drones. Each one can broadcast the shield disrupting frequency and then explode on impact." General Day looked impressed. "How many ships have you modified?" "Over 300 so far," said Minji. "And more coming in every day. People from all over Earth are volunteering their ships." She led him to a larger vessel that had once been a cruise ship for space tourists. "This one is special. It looks harmless, but we've turned it into a carrier for fighter ships. The Arcari will scan it and see a passenger vessel. They won't realize it's carrying 50 fighters until it's too late." General Day nodded with approval. "This is exactly the kind of thinking we need. The Arcari fight by the book. We need to throw away the book. Commander ToExecute stood on the bridge of a secret base built into Ganymede, one of Jupiter's largest moons. Around him, officers worked at monitoring stations tracking the movement of Arcari ships. "They've taken the bait," reported Lieutenant Sue. "Their fleet is moving toward Jupiter. They think we're gathering to surrender." Tyke smiled. "And what are we really doing?" Sue brought up a tactical display showing the positions of hundreds of human ships hiding behind various moons and within Jupiter's rings. "We're waiting to spring the trap, sir. Contact Engineer Minji. Tell her to activate the weapons platforms and send word to Captain June. The Defiance should be ready to lead the attack when I give the signal." On another screen, Tyke could see Dr. Hana's latest report. It confirmed what he had suspected. The Arcari could be beaten not because humans had better technology, but because humans understood war in ways the aliens could not comprehend. On the Arcari command ship, Ambassador Vexillar felt uneasy as they approached Jupiter. The human fleet was gathered near the moons, apparently ready to surrender. It was too easy. "Commander," he said to Zolrak, "I continue to have concerns. This surrender seems convenient." Zolrak made a dismissive gesture. "Of course they surrender. They won a single battle through trickery, but now they see our reinforcements have arrived. They know they cannot win a prolonged war." "Perhaps," said Vexlar. "But I have been studying human history. Did you know they fought thousands of wars among themselves? Their entire history is filled with conflict. They even celebrate their war leaders in monuments and stories." He brought up images of human war memorials, statues of generals, museums filled with weapons from different eras. "No species builds monuments to war unless they take pride in it," said Vexlar. "I believe we have underestimated them." Zolrak looked annoyed. "Your fascination with these primitives is becoming tiresome, Ambassador. They may have a violent history, but they are children playing with toys compared to our technology. Children can be unpredictable," warned Vexillar, "and dangerous." But his warning went unheeded. The Arcari fleet continued toward Jupiter, toward what they believed was humanity's surrender. Hidden in the shadow of Europa, another of Jupiter's moons, Captain June and the crew of the Defiance waited. Their ship had been repaired and upgraded with new weapons based on Dr. Hana's research and Engineer Minji's innovations. "All hands ready for combat," ordered June. "When Commander Tyke gives the signal, we hit them hard and fast." His crew was tense but determined. The first battle had given them confidence. They had proven that humans could hurt the Arcari despite their advanced technology. "Sir," said the communications officer suddenly, "I'm picking up a message from the Arcari fleet. They're demanding that our surrender fleet move into open space where they can see all ships clearly." June smiled. "They're suspicious. Good. That means they're starting to respect us." He opened a channel to Commander Tyke. "Sir, the Arcari are approaching with caution. They're not falling for our trap completely." Tyke's voice came back clear and determined. "Then we'll have to bring the trap to them. All ships prepare to attack. Operation Jupiter Gambit begins now." Across the Jupiter system, hundreds of hidden human ships powered up their engines. The trap was sprung. The Arcari had come expecting a surrender. Instead, they were about to face the full fury of human warfare. Trees. Battle for Jupiter was about to begin. The space around Jupiter exploded into light as hundreds of human ships attacked the Arcari fleet from all directions at once. What the Arcari had thought was a small surrender force was actually a carefully planned ambush. From his command center, on Ganymede, Commander Take watched the battle unfold. "Status report," he demanded. Lieutenant Sue's fingers flew across her control panel. "The modified cargo ships are deploying their drone swarms. The Arcari shields are flickering. The Defiance has already disabled 2 enemy ships." Tyke nodded, with grim satisfaction. "And our secret weapon? Engineer Minji reports all Jupiter moon bases are ready to fire on your command." Tyke took a deep breath. For months, Earth had been secretly converting Jupiter's largest moons into massive weapons platforms. The Arcari thought they were uninhabited research stations. They were about to learn the truth. Fire the moon cannons. ordered Tyke. Across Jupiter's system, massive energy weapons emerged from the surfaces of Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa. They fired simultaneously, sending enormous beams of energy into the center of the Arcari fleet. On the Arcari command ship, chaos erupted as alarms blared from every direction. Commander Zolrak stared in disbelief at the tactical display showing his fleet surrounded by human ships that had appeared from nowhere. "How is this possible?" he shouted. "Where did these ships come from?" Ambassador Vexelar studied the tactical screen with a mix of horror and admiration. The surrender was a trap. They lured us here deliberately. Before Zolrak could respond, the ship shook violently. The tactical officer's voice was filled with panic. "Energy weapons firing from the moons. Our shields cannot withstand this level of power." Vexelar watched as 3 Arcari warships were destroyed instantly by the moon-based weapons. "We need to retreat," he said urgently. "The humans have outmaneuvered us." Zolrak's face showed fury and disbelief. "Impossible. The Arcari Confederation does not retreat." Just then, the main screen showed a new threat. The modified civilian ships that Engineer Minji had prepared were releasing thousands of small drones. Each one was broadcasting the shield-disrupting frequency that Dr. Hana had discovered. "Divide the fleet," ordered Zolrak desperately. "Half will engage the human ships, half will destroy those moon bases." But it was too late for an organized response. The human attack had thrown the Arcari into confusion. Their ships, designed to fight in perfect formation, were scattered and surrounded. Captain June piloted the Defiance straight toward the Arcari command ship. His vessel had been enhanced with Engineer Minji's latest innovations, including a special cloaking system that made it difficult for Arcari sensors to track. "All weapons ready," reported his first officer. "The command ship's shields are at 50% and falling." June nodded. "Fire everything we have. Target their engines and weapon systems. We want to disable, not destroy." The Defiance released a barrage of missiles and energy beams. Each one was specifically designed to penetrate the weaknesses in Arcari technology that Dr. Hana had identified. The Arcari command ship shuddered under the assault. Its lights flickered, and several sections went dark as systems failed. "Good work," said June. "Now pull back and prepare for the next phase. Let's see if General Day's plan works." In Earth orbit, General Day gave the order to launch the first human offensive beyond the solar system. A fleet of fast attack ships, built with technology reverse-engineered from captured Arcari vessels, headed for the Arcari supply lines between Earth and their home systems. "Remember your mission," Day told the fleet commanders. "You're not trying to win battles. You're disrupting their supply chain. Hit their fuel stations, destroy their cargo ships, then disappear before they can respond." Fleet commanders nodded in understanding. This was guerrilla warfare on a cosmic scale. The humans couldn't match Arcari firepower in a direct confrontation, but they could make it impossible for the aliens to maintain their invasion force. "One more thing," added Day. "Bring back any technology or information you can capture. Doctor, Hana and Engineer Minji need more data to develop our next weapons." As the fleet departed, Day turned to his aide. "Now we see if humans can take the fight to the enemy's territory. If this works, the Arcari will learn that invading Earth was the worst mistake they ever made." In her lab, Dr. Hana made a startling discovery. She had been analyzing the DNA of Arcari specimens recovered from damaged ships. What she found left her speechless. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the tests again. But the results were the same. She immediately called Commander Tyke. "I found something you need to see. The Arcari DNA shows similarities to human DNA. Not identical, but there are patterns that suggest a common ancestor millions of years ago." Tyke's voice showed his surprise. "Are you saying we're related to them?" "Not exactly," said Hana. "But there might have been contact between Earth and their worlds in the distant past. Some common source that influenced both our developments." She hesitated before adding, "This might explain why they fear us so much. We represent an evolutionary path they could have taken but didn't. They evolved for peace and cooperation. We evolved for survival through adaptation and competition." "How does this help us win the war?" asked Take. always focused on the immediate problem. It might give us a way to communicate with them that goes beyond threats, said Hana. If we can make them understand that we don't want to destroy them, just defend ourselves, there might be a diplomatic solution. Tyke was silent for a moment. Send your findings to Ambassador Vexillar on the Arkari command ship. He seems to be the only one of them who's trying to understand us. Maybe he'll listen. Ambassador Vexillar received Dr. Hana's message in the midst of the battle around Jupiter. The Arkari fleet was in disarray with nearly half their ships disabled or destroyed. Commander Zolrak was frantically trying to organize a retreat while still maintaining the appearance of a fighting withdrawal. Vexillar studied the human scientists' findings with growing fascination. The genetic similarities were subtle but undeniable. It suggested possibilities that the Arkari High Command would find disturbing. Ambassador, Zolrak's voice interrupted his thoughts. The humans are offering terms for our surrender. They say they will allow our damaged ships to retreat if we agree to peace talks. Vexillar looked up from the data. We should accept. We cannot win this battle. Zolrak's face showed shame and anger. The Arkari do not surrender. The High Command would never accept such dishonor. Then don't call it surrender, suggested Vexillar. Call it a strategic reassessment. We've learned valuable information about the enemy. We need time to develop new strategies. He didn't add that he personally believed no strategy would work against humans. They were too unpredictable, too adaptable. The Arkari had never faced a species that seemed to thrive on conflict the way humans did. As if reading his thoughts, Zolrak said bitterly, "They fight like no species we have ever encountered. It's as if they enjoy war." Not enjoy, corrected Vexillar. But they understand it in ways we never will. War shaped their evolution. It's in their history, their culture, even their entertainment. They've been preparing for this moment their entire existence. Outside the viewports, the battle continued. Human ships darted between the larger Arkari vessels, causing damage and disappearing before they could be targeted. It was chaos, but a carefully orchestrated chaos that was steadily defeating the most powerful fleet in the known galaxy. The Arkari had come to conquer Earth. Instead, they were learning what it meant to face humans in battle, and it was a lesson they would never forget. The Arkari High Command received the news of their fleet's defeat with shock and anger. Never in their long history of conquest had they faced such resistance. In their central meeting chamber, the 7 leaders of the Arkari Confederation, one from each species, gathered to decide their next move. "This is unacceptable," said the Arkari Supreme Leader, a tall being with pale blue skin. "We cannot allow these humans to defeat us. They are primitive and violent. They must be eliminated." Another leader spoke up. "Our reports indicate that conventional warfare may not succeed against them. They are too unpredictable, too willing to sacrifice themselves." The Supreme Leader's eyes narrowed. "Then we will use unconventional means. Prepare the Planet Killer." A murmur of surprise ran through the chamber. The Planet Killer was the Arkari's ultimate weapon, a massive ship capable of destroying an entire world from a safe distance. It had never been used before, only kept as a final option. "Are we certain this is necessary?" asked one leader hesitantly. "The humans have offered peace talks." "Peace with barbarians who enjoy war?" "Impossible," said the Supreme Leader. "We will eliminate them completely. The Planet Killer will launch immediately." Ambassador Vexillar received the orders with growing horror. He had returned to the Arkari homeworld to report on the humans personally, hoping to convince the High Command that a diplomatic solution was possible. Instead, they had decided on genocide. In his private quarters, Vexillar made the most difficult decision of his life. He had studied humans extensively now. He understood that despite their violent history, they were capable of compassion, creativity, and growth. They did not deserve extinction. He accessed the secure communication system and sent an encrypted message to Earth. It contained the specifications of the Planet Killer, its weaknesses, and its estimated time of arrival. He was betraying his own people, but he could not be part of the annihilation of an entire species. After sending the message, Vexillar knew his life among the Arkari was over. But perhaps he could help create something new from this conflict, a partnership that would benefit both species. On Earth, Commander Tyke received Vexillar's message with grim determination. He immediately called an emergency meeting with Dr. Hana, Engineer Minji, Captain June, and General Day. The Arcari are sending a planet killer, he announced, showing them the specifications. According to Ambassador Vexillar, it can destroy Earth from beyond the reach of our defenses. The room was silent as they absorbed this news. Can we evacuate? Asked General Day finally. Tyke shook his head. Not enough time or ships to save everyone. We have to stop this weapon before it reaches Earth. Engineer Minji studied the technical details. There's a weakness in its main firing mechanism. If we could get close enough to plant explosives at these specific points, we might disable it. Getting close will be the problem, said Captain June. It will be heavily guarded. Dr. Hana had been quiet, studying the message from Vexillar. The ambassador included something else, she said. A computer virus designed to temporarily disable Arcari technology. He says it will give us a small window of opportunity to attack. Tyke looked around at his team. Then we have a plan. Captain June, you'll lead a small strike force to deliver the virus and plant the explosives. Engineer Minji will design the bombs. Dr. Hana will work with our computer experts to implement the virus. He stood up straight, his face showing his determination. This is our most important mission. If we fail, Earth dies. The Defiance and 5 other fast ships departed Earth immediately. They carried the best soldiers, pilots, and engineers humanity had to offer. Captain June knew most of them might not return, but none had hesitated when asked to volunteer. We'll intercept the planet killer near the orbit of Mars, he told his team. We need to move fast and hit hard. The virus will only disable their systems for a few minutes. His first officer looked worried. What if the virus doesn't work? Then we ram our ships into the firing mechanism and detonate manually, said June simply. One way or another, we stop that weapon. The crew fell silent, understanding what he meant. They were prepared to sacrifice themselves to save Earth if necessary. Back on Earth, General Day met with the United Earth Defense Council. They had received a message from the Arcari Supreme Leader, demanding unconditional surrender. If we refuse, they'll use the planet killer, said one council member. Maybe we should consider their terms. General Day shook his head. Their terms mean slavery for humanity, and there's no guarantee they won't use the planet killer anyway once we're defenseless. He brought up a different plan on the main screen. We need to consider what happens after Captain June's mission, whether it succeeds or fails. I propose we offer the Arcari something they've never received before. Terms for their surrender that allow them to maintain their dignity. The council members looked surprised. You want the Arcari to surrender to us? After we've just been fighting for our survival? Yes, said Day. Dr. Hana's research shows that the Arcari value hierarchy and status above all else. Being completely defeated would destroy their societal structure. But if we offer them a way to join us as equals, to maintain their identity while becoming part of something larger, they might accept. He displayed a proposal for a new alliance, the Galactic Cooperative. Earth and the Arcari worlds would be founding members, each maintaining their autonomy while sharing technology, resources, and knowledge. The Arcari have technology. We have creativity and adaptability. Together, we could be stronger than either of us alone. In space, Captain June and his strike team approached the planet killer. It was massive, larger than any ship they had ever seen, shaped like a giant spear pointed at the heart of humanity. Activate the virus now, ordered June. The communications officer pressed a series of buttons, sending the virus created from Vexillar's specifications into the planet killer's systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights across the huge ship began to flicker. It's working, said the first officer. Their defenses are down. All ships, attack now, commanded June. The 6 human ships accelerated toward the planet killer, each targeting a specific weakness identified by Vexillar. The Defiance reached its target point first. June expertly piloted the ship close to the planet killer's main firing mechanism. Deploying explosives, he reported, one by one. Each ship delivered its payload and pulled away. The virus would only work for a few more seconds. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. June pressed the trigger. A series of explosions bloomed across the planet killer's surface. At first, it seemed like they had made no difference against the enormous vessel. Then a chain reaction began, spreading from the firing mechanism through the weapon's power systems. The planet killer shuddered, then began to break apart. The human ships accelerated away as fast as possible, barely escaping the final explosion that tore the Arcari superweapon to pieces. "We did it," said June quietly, looking back at the debris field. "Earth is safe." 1 month later, Ambassador Vexlar stood beside Commander Tyack in the United Nations building in New York. Before them, representatives from Earth and the Arcari Confederation were signing the treaty that established the Galactic Cooperative. The Arcari Supreme Leader had been removed after the planet killer's destruction. The new leadership, recognizing that they could not defeat humans through force, had accepted General Day's proposal for an alliance. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when your fleet first entered our solar system?" asked Tyke. Vexillar shook his head. "Never. We thought we were bringing war to humans. We didn't understand that humans had mastered war long ago. But now, perhaps, you can teach us something even more valuable: how to turn enemies into allies." As the treaty was signed, Captain June and his crew were already preparing for a new mission. The Defiance would lead the first joint human-Arcari expedition to explore unknown regions of the galaxy. The stars, once the backdrop for war, had become the frontier for a new kind of adventure. Humanity had proven itself in battle, and now would prove itself in peace. The Arcari had tried to wage war on humans and failed. Instead, they found something they didn't know they needed: a species that could help them evolve beyond their limitations. And humanity found what it had always sought among the stars. Not just new challenges, but new friends.